Alexi.
And I'm Sasha.
Welcome to the first ever FallUp Founder Story.
Today we'll be interviewing Kristo Ovaska and he will be sharing his thoughts on entrepreneurship.
Enjoyed the episode. Welcome, Kristo, and thanks for finding time for this interview. To begin with, could you tell on your own words who is Kristo Ovaska and what is your background?
You and thanks for the invitation. It's always a huge pleasure to be talking to students and people who will be future entrepreneurs. I'm Kristo. I'm founder and CEO at Smartly.io. And before Smartly, I was working hard and a lot to build the startup or entrepreneurship ecosystem at Aalto University. So I also founded Aalto ES or co-founded Aalto ES and was first president for Aalto ES in 2019.
Yep. Thank you for the introduction. And could you elaborate a bit more about Aalto ES, why it was founded and the overall story behind it?
Yeah, absolutely. And everyone needs to understand that the world was a very different place in 2007, 2008, when we were studying and thinking about entrepreneurship, and also 2019 or late 2018 when we decided to start Aalto ES. But I was studying at School of Economics. I was studying economics and math and finance and statistics. And being an entrepreneur or joining a young company, young growing company, was probably the worst career choice. Like every smart person who respected themselves and had ambition was thinking about becoming a banker in London or a consultant in one of the big consulting companies. And definitely entrepreneurship was seen as if you didn't find a job anywhere else, then you started your own consulting or accounting company. And I know a lot of very successful entrepreneurs who didn't dare to tell at School of Economics in 2009 that they actually had their tech company. So that all was really weird to us, and we got a chance, slightly by accident, got a chance to visit some of the entrepreneurship hotspot, first around MIT and later on in both Israel and then in Silicon Valley. And especially in MIT, we saw that the smartest students were actually thinking about either building a company, a tech startup, or joining one. And then some of the most successful alumni actually came back to the school and helped these students to build the companies by mentoring and coaching and by giving angel funding. And this was a totally different, totally different atmosphere compared to School of Business, Helsinki School of Business in 2009, where literally some of the professors told at the first lectures that the worst career choice you can do is become an entrepreneur. So that really what made us really angry, first of all, and then sparked us to start Aalto ES. We wanted to build companies, we as the founders, and we knew that we want to first of all bring the like-minded students together, and then also get the experienced entrepreneurs to help and mentor us. So that's how it got started in 2009.
Okay, that's really interesting to hear. The ecosystem has grown in the 10 past years a lot and changed a lot. But how does the Aalto ES in 2009 compared to this day different from each other? How has the Aalto ES changed?
Yeah, absolutely. The great part of the ecosystem, or himmeli as many call it, is that it's been evolving really fast with the needs of surrounding people and the students and needs of the ecosystem. So obviously, when we started, there was absolutely nothing to bring the like-minded students together who wanted to start companies, and also to bring the more experienced entrepreneurs together. So the first thing was to just bring those people together and get people a bit inspired, that they would see that not the only opportunity is to become a banker or consultant, but you can also build your own company or join a startup. And it might be a really good career choice. It might be really good for your um, learning no matter what you do when you grow up. So that was early days. Then obviously the next thing we span out was Startup Sauna, which is kind of have emerged to Kiwas now. But we saw that okay, we need a bit more of a mentoring program and accelerator program for the companies. And then a bit later span out Startup Life, which we saw that okay, not everyone wants or should start a company actually. Also, I believe that one of the best things that has happened for the ecosystem was Junction, and Junction got founded somewhere later when I merged to Kiwas, which was great. I think Dash as a really important. Uh, so I believe it always the Himmeli or Aalto has always spun out these new things, and then they become more established things and becomes part of the ecosystem, and then Aalto ES keeps coming up with new ideas. I don't even exactly know what are all those different things that Aalto ES does at the moment. I definitely I even should not, but I think what is really important is that Aalto ES keeps coming with new concepts that helps the ecosystem and the young entrepreneurs and young startups to build great companies as a whole. And I think the whole purpose of the ecosystem should be to build the next 100 scalable startup, next 100 million startups. We've pretty much solved the ecosystem itself has solved the problem that people don't want to become entrepreneurs or don't want to work in a startup. I think now a lot of people wants to become entrepreneurs, and what a lot of people wants to work in a tech startup, but still there is way too few companies who are on a track to reach 100 million revenue. I think Swappy is one great example of a company. There's a good growth trajectory. Obviously, Smartly and Vault, the two others that would probably not have ever been founded or scaled without Aalto ES. But what I believe that the ecosystem needs is 97 more Vaults and Smartleys and Swappies that will eventually reach 100 million or be above 100 million revenue and build great talent and great wealth also to to Finland, to our ecosystem.
That's definitely an interesting thought to hear. Um, what would you think are like those next 20 big companies, or like what are we missing right now? What would be the key ingredient to get there?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the ecosystem needs to evolve as a whole. So I think there is two different parts. One is what the ecosystem as a whole can do, and I believe that everything that the Himmeli or the ecosystem, including Schloss and including Junction and Aalto, yes, and Startup Sauna and Startup Life and everything else, there is only one thing that we should be doing. We should help these companies to be founded and then to be scaled. So, and I don't think actually, or the problem is solved for getting funding, for example. So there is not much needed anymore in order to attract new investors to Finland. But what is lacking is those companies that are actually able to scale to 100 million. And what is the most important ingredients for these companies? It is building a product that truly has a product market fit, and there is a true demand globally, and they can become the best products globally. So I believe that the missing ingredients, and that's why I'm saying that Junction is probably the most important part. The missing ingredients is that we should have, in order to get those 100 companies, we should probably have 1,000 or 2,000 very early stage uh, seed ideas and just developers together with designers hacking things together, hacking products together, that could become those 100 million startups, and hacking those products together, and trying to find a product market fit that solves a true need better than any other product out there for a small niche in the market, and that's how you get growing. So I think that's probably the most important part of what ecosystem should be doing. And in order to get to literally to get 100 million startups, you need probably thousand ideas, thousand seed funded startups. So the scale needs to be massive. There needs to be many more people building those early stage startups, and that goes also to people. I always tell that it's great that we have created an ecosystem where we are professional at organizing events. We are probably better than any ecosystem in the world organizing events, and to some extent it truly helps to build companies, but we should become an ecosystem that is better at building companies than any other ecosystem out there. So I think every volunteer at Slush, and every person organizing FallUp, or every person organizing Junction should be thinking, okay, how could I build companies? How could I become as good as I'm organizing events at building companies? And that only comes through practice. Slush has been organized, I don't know, 10 times, and every time the team becomes better. But you need similar practice to build companies, and very rarely the first company succeeds. Most of the time it's the third or the fifth or the eighth, and more you try and you do trial and error, the better. And I see kind of way too many people quitting after the first company or the second company, but that also means that you'll never be successful. But you need to fail fast, and you need to fail often, and you need to learn a lot from the early iterations of your company. And then one of the products, you'll find a product market fit, and then you'll become successful. But that's probably kind of the big thing that I feel that the ecosystem would need, and the people would also need to contribute to that.
Okay, that was many truly important things and interesting things. But reflecting back to the time when you were the founding president of Aaltoes and one of the founders of Startup Sauna, was running Aaltoes a good preparation for starting your own company, and in which way?
I think it is to the extent, to certain extent. So kind of starting a company, what it really takes, it's to come up with an idea through iteration, through finding an idea, what something that is needed for the world, and then it's getting the founding team together that can make the product, which in Aaltoes or FallUp's or Slush's case is series of events, and partly the platform as well. But that's the second thing. Then the third thing is making those, well, obviously you need to make those founders to believe in the idea and the vision, to attract them to get involved. But then you also need some money and investors to organize, or sponsors or partners to get the idea off the ground. And then you need execution. You need massive amount of execution against all the odds, and not really knowing how to do things. So that all is, I think, a great simulation for building a company. It's very similar at when you build anything new, anything from scratch. It's very similar. So I think it for me it has helped a lot, and I did definitely my first mistakes with Aaltoes, and then with Startup Sauna, and then with Startup Life, and then with FunRank, the first startup, and then with Metrify, and then after those we did do a lot of mistakes at Smartly, but we had learned enough that we got it off the ground and found a product market fit. So without those learnings, it would not have been possible. And obviously, you can have those learnings very well by just building startups. You can do that, but you can also have those learnings by building something new at Aalto ES, something new at Chunks, or something new at Slush, or somewhere else. I think it's equally important. And then there you meet the co-founders. I believe that one of the most important things is to get right is to get the right co-founders in place with whom you can actually find the product market fit. And most of the startups fails because the co-founders get to an argument, and they can't cope with the uncertainty, and they start to have different views how to build the company and so forth. So more pressure you've gone through with your co-founders through demanding projects, more it is more higher is the likelihood that you'll be able to cope with all the uncertainty and go through the struggle, so to say, to find the product market fit. So I think it's an excellent place to find co-founders as well, and pressure test your abilities to work together. That to be said, I think no one should stay too long at the ecosystem. I think for a year or 2 years it's a great place to learn, but then also you should start building companies right after, because it still getting a technology product out there to the markets takes some skills that you're not maybe learning at Aalto ES, and you shouldn't get there, stay there for too long. It's like a Kickstarter for your entrepreneurship career, but not a definitely not a long gig. That sense.
That definitely is a nice way to sum it up. And as entrepreneurship is a big part of Aalto ES, we were wondering, have you always known that you wanted to become an entrepreneur?
No, I don't think that I've always known that I want to become an entrepreneur, and the School of Business definitely did it best to make me think that I want to be a banker or a consultant, and trying to define not to try to define problems that I wanted to solve, and then found solutions to solve those problems, which is entrepreneurship, but rather like in a consulting, someone tells you, or even in banking, someone tells often the times what are the problems to be solved, and then someone tells how to solve those problems. So at some point I realized that I'm really excited about defining the problems on my own, and then finding solutions, and then making a difference in the world actually by what I'm doing. And I think step by step, since starting Aalto, as I've realized that it's really, for me, it is the right thing to do. That's how I enjoy work the most. That's how I'm learning the most. That's how I'm meeting the most exciting people. That's also how I can have an impact to make world a better place in many ways. So for me, it's been an ongoing journey to realize that, and I definitely didn't know that when I was young, or even when I was studying the first 3 years at School of Business. But then later on, I've realized that a lot of my characteristics are actually really good for a founder and entrepreneur. But it's also important to know that it's not for everyone, and it's totally fine. Not everyone should start a company. I think joining an early stage startup is a very good idea for many people, and it's a great learning experience. But starting a company, it is really tough, and you're very alone, and you need to go through a lot of struggle. And if you don't enjoy that struggle, and if you don't enjoy kind of fighting against the windmills, so to say, like all the time fighting to get to the next step, then it's probably not the right thing to do. And then joining a company, a bit more mature company, where they have actually product market fit, is probably a really good idea at some point of your career. But maybe that summarizes it well.
Yes, there was definitely very good insights and some very definitely important learnings. But do you have any last words for our viewers and upcoming entrepreneurs?
Yeah, I think everyone should be thinking that what are their strengths and what truly motivates them, and then think through that what is truly needed in the world. And if you find an intersection between that what truly motivates you, what are your competitive advantage where you are really good, and then what is really needed in the world and solves a truly significant problem. If you find that intersection, then you'll be really well off. Whether you're starting your own company to do that, or you join another fast growing tech company, you'll be maximizing your learning and being happy and being motivated, and your career will progress. So that's probably what you should be looking for. And I believe that Aalto ES, for example, is a great way to start that learning. You'll challenge yourself. You get to define projects that motivates you. You can have an impact. You learn a ton, and you'll find a lot of like-minded people with whom you are able to start companies in the future. Or you find people who will hire you to their companies when they start to grow. So I truly recommend to take everything out your coming years as a student. It's the best time to start a company. It's the best time to join Aalto ES and get familiar with the startup ecosystem and entrepreneurship as a whole.
Thank you, Kristo.
Yes, thank you for this interview.
This was a true pleasure. Thank you, guys.